Suga of BTS was spotted heading to the airport just hours after attending Jin's discharge concert, wearing a striking tropical shirt that sparked a frenzy of speculation among fans. Is this just another flight, or is something bigger about to unfold? The atmosphere at Incheon Airport felt unusually charged that afternoon, as if the energy from the night before had traveled through the city's veins and landed squarely at the international terminal, where a sleek black van quietly rolled up and out stepped Suga of BTS, his presence immediately commanding every flash and lens pointed his way. Wearing a vibrant Hawaiian-style shirt layered over a simple black tee, paired with a black beanie and a white mask that covered most of his face except for his calm, piercing eyes, he walked with a familiar kind of quiet confidence, one that neither invited nor rejected the attention but simply accepted it as inevitable. Only hours earlier, he had been seen at Jin's official return concert, an emotional and symbolic event marking the eldest member's re-entry into civilian life. And now, with little fanfare or delay, Suga was clearly moving on to something else, something unspoken. In one hand, he held his phone and wallet. In the other, the motion of his swinging shirt caught in a brief gust of wind felt almost cinematic, like the visual punctuation of a silent statement. Observers quickly picked up on the details. How his hair peeked slightly from under the beanie, how he kept his gaze down yet never looked rushed, how he carried himself with an understated sense of direction. It didn't take long for media outlets to react. Headlines popped up like mushrooms after rain. Suga boards flight hours after Jin's event. Yoongi's mysterious exit sparked speculation, each one echoing the same question fans across social media were already asking. Where is he going and why now? On Twitter, a fan's post showing the exact moment he stepped out of the van went viral, captioned with a single line. Suga looks like he's about to change the world again, quickly amassing tens of thousands of retweets. Theories blossomed in the replies, ranging from secret solo schedules overseas to potential high-profile collaborations long kept under wraps. More speculative corners of fandom suggested he might be preparing for a surprise international appearance, while others thought this could signal the start of a new project born from the reflection and restraint of his military service. What made the moment so compelling was its silence. Suga said nothing, posted nothing, yet the message was somehow clear. Something was in motion. As the initial buzz grew, lifestyle reporters and fan-based analysts began dissecting not just his appearance but its potential meaning. The loud print of his shirt was quickly interpreted as a mood shift, perhaps a metaphor for stepping into something new after a period of stillness. One fashion editor from Seoul wrote, "Suga's look today is less about destination and more about transition. It's the kind of outfit that says, I'm moving forward and I'm bringing color with me." The sentiment resonated, especially among longtime fans who noted that such visible expressions of emotion, even through style, are rare from the artist known for his measured presence. Discussions spilled over into forums and community threads, some users comparing this airport look to his past pre-tour styles, while others insisted the departure was too sudden, too pointed to be random. Meanwhile, entertainment journalists began weighing in with their own measured takes, noting that Bigot had yet to release any official statement about his flight, which only fueled the growing mystery. Within hours, Suga at the airport became a top trend not just in Korea but across international circles, with global fanbases analyzing the few images available for clues. A new tattoo, a different ring, the direction he glanced before entering the gate. Even fashion circles began weighing in, with minimalist fashion bloggers praising the contrast between his relaxed attire and the buzz it created. Observers pointed out that Suga's airport appearances, rare and usually strategic, often precede meaningful creative milestones, and while no confirmation was forthcoming, a subtle narrative was already forming. Something important is brewing. As night fell, new fan images showed him quietly passing through security, head slightly bowed, pace relaxed but deliberate. He lifted one hand for a short wave, a small but intimate gesture that sent waves across timelines. There were no interviews, no statements, no digital trail of updates, just a presence in motion, a figure stepping out of one emotional chapter and perhaps into another. As fans and media alike hold their breath for what comes next, the silence surrounding his next destination has only made the anticipation louder. Where Suga is headed remains unknown, but for a public so intimately attuned to his rhythm, the journey itself has already begun. And as the hours rolled by with no official update, speculation only grew deeper, more layered, more emotionally charged. Various fan accounts began piecing together flight data, matching departure times with possible destinations, while others zoomed in obsessively on the items in his hands or the specific brand of his shirt, trying to decode the message in his minimalism. Some theorized he might be heading to Japan for a private session with a collaborator he had once mentioned in passing during a pre-enlistment livestream. Others leaned into the possibility of Europe, citing past patterns and connections to producers in Berlin. Yet there was also a prevailing theory that this journey wasn't entirely professional, that perhaps Suga was taking time for himself, a symbolic exit from the noise of the public eye after having re-entered it so suddenly with Jin's homecoming. Lifestyle columnists, especially those well-versed in celebrity behavior post-military discharge, began connecting the dots in more abstract ways, pointing out that the timing of this trip so closely aligned with a moment of emotional closure not just for Jin but for the group as a whole. It's as if he wanted to mark the beginning of this new chapter in private, one writer observed, by stepping away before anything new was officially announced. From a PR standpoint, the ambiguity was perfect, enough intrigue to dominate headlines and social feeds, but not so much as to require crisis management or damage control. Even the fashion industry chimed in more assertively as new close-ups of his outfit emerged, highlighting the subtle color coordination between the floral greens of his shirt and the neutral tones of his accessories. An intentional mismatch that suggested casual spontaneity, but could also signal a calculated softness. At the heart of it all remained the image of Suga walking steadily through a crowd that never truly encroached. His space respected, his silence observed, his movements dissected with the reverence usually reserved for film stills. Analysts in the entertainment field started exploring what this meant for BTS's broader trajectory. Some believed this might be a soft launch for a staggered re-entry of members, with each appearing gradually in public, maintaining mystery while re-establishing presence. Others speculated that Suga might be finalizing something long in development, perhaps his next solo record or a special visual project hinted at years ago and now closer than ever to release. What added to the mystery was the distinct absence of any of the typical signs of an overseas schedule. No visible staff, no obvious equipment, no airport banners or fans holding signage. Just him, solitary but not isolated, composed yet unspoken. In parallel, fan responses grew more nuanced. Beyond excitement, there was genuine admiration for how he managed to maintain control over his narrative without ever saying a word. In communities where celebrity oversharing is the norm, Suga's restraint is both an aesthetic and emotional trademark. One particularly popular blog post titled, "The Art of Moving Quietly," Why Suga's Departure Feels Monumental, captured this sentiment well, noting that fans weren't just following a star, they were interpreting a philosophy. The author likened his airport moment to a haiku. Simple, direct, but infinitely interpretable depending on the viewer's emotional lens. By the second day, digital artists began creating visuals inspired by his departure, soft watercolor renderings of him disappearing into the terminal, slow-motion edits paired with instrumentals from his mixtapes, and speculative captions about what he might be thinking as he boarded the plane. With every hour, the story expanded, not because of new information but because of the vacuum he left behind. And in that space, fans projected their hopes, analyses, and quiet longing for what comes next. Media analysts predicted that this moment, as small as it seemed, would likely be dissected for weeks, especially if it preceded an announcement or comeback. Brands subtly tagged fan posts to observe sentiment trends, while major media outlets began drafting profiles revisiting Suga's evolution as a cultural figure, someone who doesn't chase attention but reshapes the space he walks through. Meanwhile, inside the airport, those who had seen him pass described a kind of stillness, like the air around him slowed for a few seconds, enough for them to remember how rare it is to witness someone so quietly magnetic. By the time his flight took off, the online world was ablaze, yet no one really knew where he was headed. That absence of clarity, that suspended moment in transit, became a metaphor for his entire post-service return. Undefined, intentional, full of silent meaning. And in a media landscape constantly clamoring for immediate answers, Suga's decision to just move forward, without comment,